Paddington in Peru is just a few days away from release, but we've already gotten the confirmation of Paddington 4. And with that, it makes me wonder whether this third installment in the franchise will set up new directions for Paddington to go in the fourth film. Now, we know the first two Paddington films are absolute classics and were so successful, and we know there's so much hype for this third film that it's no wonder that we got a fourth film for Paddington's 70th anniversary. But the big difference between Paddington 1 and 2 compared to Paddington 3 is that number 3 is set in Peru, where they are going to be travelling around Paddington's home country in order to find Aunt Lucy. And so everything is just on a grander scale than it's been in the past. And so I reckon for the fourth film, they're going to continue doing this. They're not just going to return back to London. London made sense for the first two films because we had to establish who Paddington is and get him used to living with humans. Whereas in this third film, they're going to explore more and they can go grander and bigger adventure, and so it just makes sense for the fourth film to do that as well. And so I reckon the fourth film will be named something kind of similar to Paddington in Peru, being Paddington in somewhere, and that being a new location or a new concept rather than just being labelled as Paddington 4. Another thing to expect for Paddington is a new job in this film. What's so hilarious about these films is that Paddington gets to experience new jobs and new tasks that he's never been able to do before, and they are always hilarious. And these basically turn into mini adventures that are integral to the character. In the first film, we get to see him living with humans and trying to understand what that adventure is, and then we also get to see him take on loads of jobs that he has no idea what on earth he's doing, like when he's trying to brush his teeth and he actually ends up using the toothbrush to clean his earwax, like when he's trying to look after the home. He even ends up becoming a policeman at some point during the film. In number 2, we see him face against the prison system and face against human law as a bear, and we also get to see him become a cleaner and a cook. And in number 3, he's having to navigate and search a familiar yet unfamiliar place, being his home country again, and with that he's having to learn how to travel like a human. He's having to learn how to use passports, he's having to learn how to use all these different methods of traveling, such as captaining a boat and going on a plane. And so I reckon number 4 will have a new task for Paddington to discover that he will definitely fail and succeed in a hilarious way. But the biggest way that Paddington 3 will impact Paddington 4 is what they're going to do with Aunt Lucy, because this entire film is all dedicated around them finding Aunt Lucy, and so something is definitely going to happen that will have an impact on what the future of the film franchise will be. All of his motivations in these films are led by his love for Aunt Lucy. In the first film, he has to leave Aunt Lucy and learn to live without her, but he's constantly writing to her, and whenever he's struggling, he's constantly thinking about what his life would be like if Aunt Lucy was still there. In the second film, the entire plot of the film is him trying to find a present for Aunt Lucy, and it ends up going so wrong that he ends up in prison, and the only reason why he wants to get out of prison is so that he can get back to ensure that he can make Aunt Lucy's day. And then of course Aunt Lucy ends up coming at the end of the film and we get to see them reunite. And then this third film, like I said before, the entire plot is about them trying to find Aunt Lucy. They go to visit Peru to go and see her, and she's missing, and so they have to go on an adventure to find her. But since this new film is set in Peru, where Aunt Lucy is, it makes me think that something is going to happen at the end of this film to do with Paddington and Aunt Lucy that will impact what on earth is going to happen in Paddington 4. And I'd say it's either 3 options. So number 1, they find Aunt Lucy and they decide to bring Aunt Lucy back to the UK, and she ends up living with Paddington and the Browns in the UK. And so the fourth film could see them trying to navigate Aunt Lucy and Paddington together in the UK. Or option number 2, we could have Paddington moving back to Peru to stay with Aunt Lucy, and he ends up having to leave the Browns, and then the fourth film could see something happen that forces him to reunite with the Browns, or forces him to return back to the UK for something. And then the third option, I think, is the saddest option, which is unfortunately Aunt Lucy could potentially die at the end of this film, and the fourth film ends up being more about how Paddington grieves. As well as being hilarious, these films are often known as having really big emotional moments and high action, and so I wouldn't be surprised if in the climax we do see some emotional goodbyes, either between Paddington and Aunt Lucy or Paddington and the Browns, or we could also see some emotional grievances if Aunt Lucy ends up dying in this film, because she's getting older and older as the films go on. So how long they're going to keep her in, I don't know. Either way, I think something is definitely going to happen between Paddington and Aunt Lucy in this film that will impact Paddington 4, and I can't wait to see what it is. But guys, what do you think will happen? Are you excited for Paddington 3 and Paddington 4? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.
Myself, oh, and I always do the wrong thing. I'm unstable and I'm unsteady. I've lost a million times already, and I'm so sorry, but I'm